Hello friends, today's topic is disputes over Jammu and Kashmir, problems and solutions. My lesson plan includes why it is in the news, genesis of Kashmir disputes, India's stand on Jammu and Kashmir, Pakistan's and China's stand on Jammu and Kashmir, solutions, and finally conclusion. The Foreign Minister of India, S. Jaishankar, recently told in London that if Pakistan vacates POK, Pak occupied Kashmir disputes would be resolved permanently. He said that India revoked Article 370 of the Indian Constitution, which gave a special status to the Jammu and Kashmir, and this revocation of article was followed by restoring growth and economic activity in Jammu and Kashmir and the holding of election of legislative assemblies recently with high turnouts. So his contention was that if Pakistan returns the stolen part of Jammu and Kashmir, disputes between India and Pakistan over Jammu and Kashmir would be resolved in its entirety. Now the question is, why Jammu and Kashmir disputes erupted? After all, what are the causes for the genesis of the disputes over Jammu and Kashmir between India and Pakistan? Friends, as you know that during British rule, the Indian subcontinent was divided into two types of governments. One part was ruled directly by the company and later on by the British Crown, and the second part was being ruled by princely estates. While the directly ruled areas constituted about 60% of the land and having 70% of the population, the princely estates constituted 40% of the lands of Indian subcontinent with 30% population. After independence, the British paramountcy ceased to exist over princely estates. It will be befitting to point out that princely estates exercised autonomy in their internal matters, while the defense, foreign affairs and communications were controlled by the British government. But after independence, when the British paramountcy ceased to exist, the princely estates were given the choice either to join India or Pakistan or to remain independent. Friends, as you know that there were 562 princely estates in India on the eve of the independence of our country. It should be noted that all princely estates either merged with India or Pakistan except three, and these three princely estates were Junagadh, Hyderabad and Jammu and Kashmir. While Junagadh was merged with India after holding plebiscite, Hyderabad was captured and merged with Indian Union through police action. The situation in Jammu and Kashmir was completely different. The Maharaja Hari Singh decided to remain independent and he declined to merge his state either with India or Pakistan. He made a standstill treaty with Pakistan. Indian leaders did not take a step to make accession of Jammu and Kashmir with the Indian Union. They left the decision with the people of Jammu and Kashmir. After the onset of the winter season, the tribal militia supported by Pakistani army infiltrated into the territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The Royal Army of Maharaja was no match for the tribal militia supported by Pakistani army, and so one by one they captured towns of Jammu and Kashmir. They captured Gilgit, Baltistan, Muzaffarabad and Mirpur, and they were about to enter into Srinagar. Maharaja Hari Singh fled to Jammu and Kashmir in panic, and so he requested the government of India to send Indian Army to Jammu and Kashmir to flush out Pakistani tribal militia. But the government of India declined, contending that so long as Jammu and Kashmir is an independent state, the deployment of Indian Army would amount to breach of international laws. And so the government of India requested the Maharaja to sign over the instrument of annexation before the deployment of Indian Army into Jammu and Kashmir. Since Maharaja had no choice, and so he signed over the instrument of annexation on 26th October 1947. Thereafter, the Indian Army was deployed in Jammu and Kashmir. About 100 aeroplanes were pressed into the service. Indian Army flushed out the invaders, insurgents from Srinagar and liberated about 2/3 areas of Jammu and Kashmir. The war went on for the next 1.5 years. The Indian government approached the UN, and according to the UN mediated formula, a ceasefire was announced on 1st January 1949, thereby making the ceasefire line as a line of actual control between India and Pakistan. The UN formula also held that the Pakistani army would withdraw from the occupied areas, and thereafter a plebiscite would be held in the entire Jammu and Kashmir. But Pakistani government did not abide by the UN formula, and so plebiscite could not be held so far. After 1965 war with Pakistan, India changed its stand. It contended, since Jammu and Kashmir had separate constitution having special safeguards, and since there have been so many elections, so there is no need now for holding plebiscite in Jammu and Kashmir. In 1972, after the Indo-Pakistan war, an agreement was signed between India and Pakistan at Simla, which is called Simla Agreement. And according to this agreement, it was decided that the disputes between India and Pakistan would be resolved bilaterally without the interference of third power. Friends, as you know that in 2019, Jammu and Kashmir was downgraded to Union Territory. Jammu and Kashmir was made a union territory with a chief minister headed by Lieutenant Governor appointed by the President of India, and Ladakh was bifurcated from Jammu and Kashmir. It was also made a union territory headed by an administrator appointed by the President of India with no legislative assembly. Pakistan declared the revocation of Article 370 of our Constitution as illegal and against the spirit of UN resolution passed in 1948. It tried to internationalize the Jammu and Kashmir issues at different international fora like the UN, OIC, and with China. Moreover, it supported the protesters agitating within the territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Friends, as you know that for the last 30 years, Pakistan has been engaged in Jammu and Kashmir through non-state actors, that is terrorist outfits like Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Tauba. It has been exporting this terrorists into the valley and making all kinds of disruptive activities. Now question is, what is a stand of India vis-a-vis Jammu and Kashmir? Friends, as you know that India considers Jammu and Kashmir as an integral part of India. It considers the illegal occupation of Gilgit-Baltistan and Pak-occupied Kashmir like Muzaffarabad or Mirpur. It maintains that Jammu and Kashmir is an internal matter for India, and so there is no scope for third party involvement. And so the disputes over Jammu and Kashmir can be resolved through bilaterally. Pakistan stands for entire Jammu and Kashmir on the basis of two-nation theory. Since Jammu and Kashmir has more than 75% Muslim population, so according to the two-nation theory, Jammu Kashmir should have been the part of Pakistan. It considers the instrument of accession put forth by Maharaja Hari Singh as illegitimate and under the pressure of Indian Army. It demands UN-sponsored plebiscites based on UN Resolution 1948. Friends, as you know that both Pakistan and India fought 3 wars in 1947, in 1965 and in 1999 over Jammu and Kashmir. In 1999, Pakistan virtually captured Kargil, but later on Indian Army flushed them out. Friends, as you know that in Jammu and Kashmir disputes, there is a third party, and the name of the third party is China. As you know that in 1950, China forcefully captured Tibet, and so thereafter the border of India and China became contiguous. China doesn't recognize McMahon Line, which bifurcate between India and China. During Sino-Indian War in 1962, China captured Aksai Chin, which was 15% area of the undivided Jammu and Kashmir. It constructed roads linking its Xinjiang province with Tibet. The road passes through Karakoram and Aksai Chin. In 2020, there occurred skirmishes between Chinese and Indian Army, causing the death of 20 Indian soldiers and an uncertain number of Chinese soldiers. The situation became too much tense between India and China. Now it is getting normalized after so many rounds of talks between Chinese and Indian delegates. Now the question is, what are the solutions for the amicable settlements of Jammu and Kashmir disputes? Friends, noted scholar Ishtiaq Ahmad contends that India and Pakistan should resolve the Kashmir disputes amicably by converting the line of actual control into international border. Moreover, Pakistan should give transit route to India so that it can trade with Central Asian countries like Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan and others. Pakistan would get benefited from the transit fees. Both countries should start trading and should have people-to-people exchange. Secondly, Pakistan should stop exporting terrorists into Kashmir Valley. Both countries should start on the basis of Simla Agreement and Lahore Declaration in 1999. Pakistan should take strict action against terrorist outfits like Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Toiba. India should make efforts to de-radicalize Kashmiri youths influenced by extremist and separatist ideologies. There should be an effort to increase foreign direct investment in Jammu and Kashmir. Infrastructure should be strengthened so that Jammu and Kashmir is aligned with the Indian mainstream. Efforts should be made to have safe return of Kashmiri Pandit into the valley, giving them security guarantees. Encouragement to people relations will further boost the normalization between both countries. Moreover, restoration of statehood would further heal the emotional fracture of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. There is need to conduct election at panchayat level so that democracy is strengthened at grassroots levels. Economic growth and employment opportunities should be provided in a better way to the Kashmiri youths so that they get integrated with the Indian mainstream. The biggest problem for the central government is how to eliminate the alienation of Kashmiri youths, and so both social, political and economic steps should be taken to heal the long-lasting soars among the people of Kashmir. Now I conclude, friends, as you know that Pakistan and India fought 4 wars in the last 75 years after independence. Both countries are developing countries. Majority of the people in both countries are struggling to eke out their livelihoods. Their per capita income is very low when compared with the developed countries of the world. The economic condition of Pakistan is very much miserable. It is on the verge of debt trap on account of heavy expenditure on military hardwares. So both countries should sit together to resolve the disputes amicably without the interference of third power. The line of actual control should be converted into international border, as noted scholar Ishtiaq Ahmed contended. There should be encouragement to bilateral trade between both countries, people to people exchange between both countries. Similarly, India and China should settle the border disputes amicably so that the Galwan-like situation doesn't happen again. So friends, now I conclude my lecture. If you have any suggestion, please give your feedback. I will appreciate. Thank you very much.